Welcome to Reset to Healthier Relationship, Sunday night at 9. I am your host, Coach Glenda, here with my course manager and co-host, Rufus Carpenter. As most of you know, Rufus and I have created this forum where you can discuss trials and triumphs in past and present relationships. We encourage everyone to share, speak their truth, and talk as much or as little as they would like. I want to say hello to everyone before we get started. Hello, Dr. Johnson. Hello, Annette. I hope you all had a productive week. I do want to give a little bit of housekeeping rules before we dive into, well, before I give Mr. Carpenter the floor. Please mute your phones until you're ready to speak to avoid any background noise, as well as let's be respectful and allow everyone to speak their truth and let everyone get their comment and their feedback in. All right, Mr. Carpenter, you can go ahead and tell us a little bit about your background.
Good evening, everybody. Like she said, I'm Rufus Carpenter, and I am the course manager and a managing partner here at Glenda's Get It and Go at Reset Sunday night at 9. Okay, I come to this background a little different than most. My background started as a member of a 14 family 14 kids in our family with my mother and father. It was 16 in a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. And we never had enough of anything. I can remember one specific weekend when I went out and worked around the neighborhood. I cut wood for people. I went grocery shopping for people. I raked grass. I did all kind of odds and ends. I helped plant flowers and raked up, and I did a lot of things. And at the end of that weekend, I made like $35 and some change. I was so happy to get the money. I ran home and gave it to my mom. I said, "Mom, here's my money." She saw the money and she just busted out, started crying. She kissed me and she said, "Son, I'm so proud of you." And she hugged me and she said, "Baby, this is for you." She gave me like $1.35. But that moment, to see my mom cry and to say how she loved me at that moment changed my whole life. And I was about eight, 8 or 9 then, somewhere in that age bracket. But from that point on, I decided I wanted to be of service. I wanted to help. I wanted to do my part to fulfill the family. And they call us helpers high. I've had that up until the day. If anything I can do for anybody, I will do it. I will almost give you the shirt off my back. That's how I'm tuning in to doing that. But my relationship training didn't stop there because that was important. And the good thing about that is that that gave me the essence of human connection. I was married 27 years to the same lady. And if you know anything about marriage, you learn compromise, you learn communication, you learn trust, you learn fidelity. And these are the things necessary for you understanding the essence of the human relationship. But these are the things that also help you grow in relationships with people in general. My relationship didn't stop there. I joined the United States Army, and one of my jobs in the United States Army was human relation and race relation leader, where I had the responsibility of going to our Army units. And anytime we have a race or relationship problem, I'd be the first person on the scene, and I would have to assess the situation with what we call an intake form. And with the intake form, I would decide what level of responsibility or resources we're to throw at solving that problem. And the one thing about that is that taught me to deal with race and relationships in a very complex and diverse environment. So tonight, I'm here tonight on this container called Sunday Night at 9. And on this container, it's where you and about 20 of your girlfriends are in one of your living room. And you guys, you relax. It's a quiet place, it's a safe place. And somebody might have a glass or two of wine, and you guys are really having fun. And you guys come up, you're gonna talk about a relationship topic. And in that topic, you get to talk about the topic as well as share anything you want to share about relationships, because this is your chance for you to help the sister beside you. Because you don't know, sometimes when you speak your truth about what you've experienced and learned in relationship building might help the sister beside you. because the sisterhood is so strong that the sister beside you may not be able to dress her problem up as good as you dressed it up. She may need some help. And just you saying it sometime will get the monkey off your back, and you feel relief just by letting people know that, hey, I survived this and you can too. So the night's going to be a great night. The topic for the night is an awesome one. It's something that we don't normally do, but something we really need to talk about starting 2025 off. So I'm gonna give it back to Glenda. Glenda?
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Now, the topic for tonight is moving forward, a journey from existing circumstances to new beginnings. And the title is Release and Renew, Transforming Relationships in 2025. Now, the overall objective is we want to empower women, both married and unmarried, to embrace new beginnings by releasing past challenges and transforming their relationships in 2025. This discussion aims to provide practical strategies, emotional support, and a sense of community, fostering personal growth and stronger, healthier connections. This session structure is designed to foster a supportive environment, encouraging meaningful dialogue and personal growth while understanding and navigating past relationship challenges. Let this discussion be a stepping stone towards healthier and more fulfilling relationships. Now, feel free to adapt or expand upon these points to best suit your specific needs. Now, when Mr. Carpenter sent us the email with the topic for tonight, I was scratching my head, but he did send a follow-up for me to get a better understanding, because it really did take me by surprise. But I want to share a personal experience that I had when I started my journey moving from Virginia to Georgia with, after getting divorced. One of the biggest things with myself was, I know that prior to getting divorced, I was speaking with my father, and he was like, they don't, because of our religion, our beliefs in the church, they don't encourage or they don't promote divorce. But I knew that, this wasn't working out for me, and I couldn't see myself with him for 10, 15, 20 years being this unhappy. So, but he said, regardless of which direction you choose to go with your marriage, whether it's to stay in it and work it out or leave them and divorce them, don't become bitter. Because, some women, when they have failed marriages, they just give up on men altogether. And he just encouraged me and motivated me to stay. Don't let this one monkey stop the show. Don't let this one bad experience stop you from living your best life. So that's my personal truth and my testimony based off of, my past relationships and challenges, and being able to grow from that experience to where I am today. Mr. Carpenter, the floor is all yours.
Okay, good evening, everybody. We have a lot of people on the line tonight. I see Annette, I see Dr. Johnson, I see Angela, I see Ava, I see Priscilla Walker, I see Gigi, and I think I just saw somebody else. I can't see everybody. I think I see Pierre. I can't. Yeah. I see Sharon. Yeah. And okay. I'm glad you're here tonight, because tonight is going to be a great night. Tonight, we're going to talk about something we don't normally talk about, because since we've started in 2025, we first talked about communication. Up until this point, we talked about communication. We talked about starting anew, and we talked more about the communication part of starting all over again. How do you get a better communication? How do you communicate at a higher level? And we did the start, stop, and continue last week, and we shared some of the things. As a matter of fact, we did stop, continue for 2 weeks, I think we did. And we talked about communication. 1 week, only 1 week? Okay, no problem, only 1 week. But it was about communication. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit different. We're going to talk about development, self-development, as well as a little personal leadership. We're going to spin off a little bit into that in relationships. Now, when you see the topic, she said, Glenda said a mouthful. I think she said the topic is moving forward, a journey from existing circumstances to new beginning. And that's the topic. Normally we do only a title, but tonight we want to give you a title and a topic. So the topic again is moving forward. That means we're coming somewhere. We're coming from 2024 going forward, and it's a journey. And we wanna exit existing circumstances to a new beginning. If you're not where you want to be right now, that's why it's a journey going from where you are to where you want to be. And the next part of this is the title is Release and Renew, Transforming Relationships in 2025. That's a lot said there. And if we take each one of these parts, take it apart, and we say moving forward, take that and discuss that. If we talk about what's your current circumstances, take that apart, talk about that. And we'll talk about new beginning, let's talk about that. If we talk about release, and then we'll talk about renew, and then we take and talk about transfer in 2025, that's tonight. That's what we're talking about. We're going to talk about all this, but we're going to give you, before we bring you in to help with the conversation, we're going to give you some background on what we're talking about. We're going to give you the science of what we're talking about. Now, the science of what we're talking about is very simple. Well, it's not very simple, but the science that we're talking about is something called, okay, LOC is abbreviation, but we call it locus of control. It's almost like the locust, a little insect, just take the T off the end of it. It's locus of control. When I first heard of locus of control, and it was first designed by a researcher by the name of Julian Rotter, and she did it in 1954. She came up with a study, and she said, and she explained what this was, locus of control. She explained the whole concept, and they've been working forward on that ever since. When I first saw it, it was like, what in the heck you talking about? Now, you know how I learned this real easy? In that word locus, which is spelled Locus, I just turned the word to focus. And once I turned that word to focus, it made it so easy for me. All it is focus on your internal, which is internal locus control. It's the things that you feel that you can control inside of you, the things that you think you can make a difference for, the things that you think you can influence in your life, the things that you think you can make better, the things you think you can control. That's internal locus, or internal LOC, or internal control, or internal focus. When I put that word focus there, it made it so easy to open up the whole thing just like that. Now, that's the first version of a locus of control. Internal locus of control. Things that you feel you can control. Things inside, by your feelings, by your reactions, how you react to stuff, how you perceive stuff. That's the first one. The second part of this is external locus, locus of control. That's external. That's your focus on things that's happening outside of you. Environment, the economy, the weather, the friends around you, your sphere of influence, the things on the outside. That's what the external is. External things that you really don't really control, you react from. Okay, so we got the locus, or with focus, we can say focus of control, internal things that you can control, things that you have a bearing on, your perspective on stuff. External locus, or your external focus, are the things that you can't control, things that happen around you. Now, I know you said, Rufus, what does God do in a relationship? I'm glad you asked. It's got a lot to do with the relationships. Because in your relationships, I'm gonna have fun, so bear with me. I enjoy doing this kind of stuff. But internal relationships, what do you feel about your boo? What do you feel about how your boo is loving you? Do you feel your boo is loving you because you're loving her or him better? Because you bring the flowers home, you pay the bills, you set time aside, you communicate well to them. This is your ability, things that you feel you can control. You know, you might feel inside that if I focus on my boo, if I bring her flowers, if I pay the bills, if I give her time to herself, if I give her nice presents, if I understand her love language, if I understand her, what her attachment style is so I can better suit her blueprint for love. If you're doing those things, then you feel you control, or you feel you're kind of influencing that relationship. That's internal. That's your internal focus, or your internal locus of control. Now, flip side of that, if you're someone that you feel that you're being punished or you're being rewarded, if you do this, she rewards you. If you do that, she punishes you, and then you just go with the flow. If she tell you go sleep in the other room, you go sleep in the other room. If he tell you he ain't buying you no car, he ain't buying you no clothes, you can't work, you just pitiful, whatever. This is how it works. External mean you don't really have that much control over what happened. You can only react to what happens to you or around you. You can't control your surrounding. You can't control your spouse, significant other. You can't control your relationship. Your relationship goes and come as it goes and come, ebb and flow. You have no control over your relationship. Now, if you understand this, put understand in the chat so I know that we kind of got an understanding. And if we got an understanding, I can move forward. Because I don't want to go a long ways in it and we don't know what the heck I'm talking about. Because we're talking about LOC, and they call it locus of control, and it was canned by a researcher by the name of Julian Rotter, Rotter, in 1954. She came up with a study, and she introduced it to the world. And she said there's two types of control. Locus of control, there's two types. There's internal, which means yourself. You feel you have control. Now, there's parameters that you have to be in place for you to be in control of anything. Because if you don't have anything, you can't be in control of nothing anyway. So certain circumstances have to be in place for you to be in control. And then the other was external control, where external locus of control, where you don't have any control at all. You go with the flow, you ebb and flow. And if you notice in your relationships, you've been in relationships where you didn't have a clue. I'm sure you've been in relationships where the other person was the dominant one, and they told you what you're going to do, and they said jump, you asked how high, kind of deal. I'm sure you had those relationships. And you had those relationships where you say, hey, I'm laying down the law. I'm setting the rules. Here's what we're going to do. If you're going to be with me, here's what we're going to do. So this is how it affects relationships. It's whether you're calling the shots or not calling the shots, or whether you're in a relationship, but you don't have any control of the relationship. Now, sometimes some people like external control where they don't have no control, where they happy as a log. Whatever happens, happen. I'm going along. I'm getting along, going along. I'm happy. Some people say, heck no, heck no. I'm going to tell you how we're going to spend the money. I'm going to tell you where we're going to go. I'm going to tell you how long we're going to do. You know, it's so you have to realize that that's what we're talking about, those type of things. Now, if we understand, Glenda, how much in the chat is understand? How many understands we got in the chat? So I know, do we have those two concepts? We got 4? 4. Okay, all right. Then I think that's half. Okay, so we understand internal, locus of control, internal control, where you have some type of control over your situation. You feel you have some type of control over your life. In order for you to have some type of control, sometimes you have to have resources. You got to have resources, because if you're in control and you don't have any money or any resources, what are you controlling? sometimes you have to be proficient. You have to have enough knowledge of the situation in order to be controlled, to be in charge or control your destiny. Because if you don't have the proficiency of the knowledge, you can't control too much. So in order for you to have internal control, you have to have something. You have to have, it has to be set up. You have to have some type of resources, some type of knowledge of it or experience or some kind of capacity. Okay? Now, external is a little different. External, you're affected by what's happening. And in relationships, it's simple as this. You might have a boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife that they say, if you do well this week, you can get, I'll give you this, I'll give you that. They use your performance as a control or a reward and a punishment system. And you're driven by that exterior punishment or reward. If they punish you, then you kind of hate it. If they reward you, you kind of liking it. You kind of got this, guys. Do anybody want to give me a clarification? They kind of understand. Give me their take on what I'm saying right now.
Mr. Carpenter, Sharon put in the chat, it says, thanks for the recap on the statement. To be in control, you must be doing your part.
Yes. Now you talking about being in control from the internal, that you being in control, or the external controlling you? Which one, Sharon, so I know which one to answer?
Well, that's why I was confused at from the beginning.
Okay.
But once you broke it down, you made a statement. How can someone be in control if they're not on the level they should be on?
Correct.
At first I thought you were saying,
at
first I thought you were just making a statement that, being in control and being controlled, for no apparent reason.
You're correct, because I gave you a quick down and dirty of what it was. Now, you're right, there's a little deeper than what I gave, but I just want to get us all talking from the same point. And you're right, Sharon, because if you don't have the resources or the capacity, or you don't have the specialized knowledge, you can't be in control. Because
right.
what you're doing is like blind leading the blind.
And also, and not that, it's just also what you think you're controlling if you ain't contributing. So what I said to do, either you do it or get the hell on.
That's it. Now let's say a lot of times some people don't want to be in control. Some people want to be led around. And that's their style. That's what they're all about. It's a study that says that men, more so than women, are more internal, have an internal locus. That men mostly focus on being in control of their own destiny. That's what the study said. Men more than women want to be in control of their own destiny. It said also in the same study, it says people that higher up in organizations like generals or CEOs in corporations said they want to be more internal locus, more in control. It says that that being in control, it says that a lot of people feel that being in control, you get to determine your destiny better by you being in control. And some people take it too far. If in that same study, it said if you overly control or if you overly internal locus control, if it's overly, you go too far. You cut other people off. And it's detrimental. And they gave an example like saying, like let's say if you got two legs, as humans, we have two legs. And let's say somebody gave a human two more pair of legs. So this human got 4 legs. Did it make you better because you got more legs? Or is that a problem? It could be a problem if you have 4 legs and your human's supposed to only have 2 legs. And that was the example they gave in the study. They're saying that you might get more, your legs may help you get further down the road, but if you give your 4 legs and you only supposed to have 2, that may not be a good thing. And that's what they use as example in the study that I studied. Okay. Now, also, it said for the external, a lot of times external, some people want to be led. Some people want to be told what to do. Everybody don't want to be the leader. But you have to decide where you fit. You have to decide what works for you. Now, in our brief tonight, we've got a lot of information that we have. Essence did a article on this years ago, and they interviewed about 50 different women, and the 50 women, they gave their stories. Matter of fact, they did heterosexual and gay couples, and they actually went through and they actually did a study is how they want to be in charge, or or are they more concerned about internal, where their focus was being in charge, external, where the focus was on what's happening around them. And some interesting studies. We have some of that, and I'll get Glenda to read a few of them as we go along. We'll read a few of them, but we want to make sure that we've got this part so far, that we have an understanding, and let you talk about, what do you feel? Do you feel you're more internal, in that your focus is more of what you can control in a relationship, or you more external, what happens around you in your relationship? Let's open the floor for a few minutes and let's talk about the difference between how you view yourself, internal or external, when it comes to relationships. Okay, and you might say, Rufus, where are we going with this? Here's where we're going with this. Tonight, before this is over with, we want everybody to think about what's a compelling future for your relationships in 2025. We want you to think, what's a compelling future for your relationships in 2025? In other words, what is a life worth living for you in 2025? What does that look like? What does a relationship and life living looks like for you in 2025? A compelling future. What's going to make you do a better job in your relationships going forward in 2025? What compelling future are you going to build for yourself? And that's where we are right now. And that's what this is all about. See, because before this, we talked about communication in relationships. We talked about boundaries, communication, and those other things. We haven't talked much about personal development and personal leadership in relationships. Tonight, we turn the corner a little bit. We're talking about personal development and personal leadership in relationships. So those are the strategies we're applying going forward tonight. All right. Let's open the floor. Who wants to talk about, so far, how do you feel your relationship's going? Are you someone that kind of wants control in your relationships? Are you someone that has been led by the ebb and flow of somebody external locus?
Hey, hello?
Go ahead, Sharon.
Hey, hi. Okay, now this is what I'm working on in 2025. I'm working on how to stop being like a number one. I mean, the person that's in control only, because I don't care whether I'm contributing or not. It's either my way or no way. But I have to stop being like that. So I'm working on stop being that way, and look at a partner as an equal.
Okay.
Somewhat.
Okay. All right. Anyone else want to share?
Andre, do you want to share your comment?
I was basically saying that if I'm understanding the content right, I believe I'm kind of internal. I think I'm just concerned about myself a lot, and then I don't really get too caught up in the extras.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Andre, do you feel you ultra about self, or do you think you're in a safe productive place about self?
That I'm not sure because I'm kind of learning what I'm talking about.
Okay, all right. Because in the study, it said that when you overcompensate self, when you want to be too in charge, or when your locus of control is too internal, that you go overboard. You kind of overshoot it, where you close out the opportunity for anyone else. And that was one of the dangers of it. It was saying that it was almost like no man is an island all to themselves kind of deal. And
can you be both?
You can be both. Who's speaking? So I know who we're talking about. Who's speaking?
Gigi.
Okay, yeah, you can be both. You can be both, and I think being both may be a better way sometime, because the situation may dictate. There's no hold up. There's no right or wrong. All we're doing is giving you what the study says, because we're not judging anybody in this forum. All we're doing is giving you information, and we're giving you a place you can go look at this and study it further yourself. So there's no right or wrong. All we're trying to get you to realize, going in 2025, you're going to have to do more than you did in 2024. In 2025, we want you to be educated. We want you to actually have building a compelling future based on proven strategies. And these strategies are, I think, what they call them? These are evidence-based strategies. This is not nothing that we just cocked up, or me and Glenda just sit in the back room and cock this up and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. These are studies that says, here's what's out there. Here's scientific study, that stuff that's been proven and worked. And Andre is the educator. He can tell you that a lot of his stuff is evidence-based. You can't just come and say, here's what I think. If you can't prove what you think, then you can't think it. That's all right. That's what we're doing here. All right, let's continue.
Can I say something else?
Yes, go ahead.
The floor is open to anybody, by the way.
Okay. I think I'm both, because I can be led, but I can also lead, because I feel like that in a partnership you work together.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Awesome, good. Have anyone ever been in a situation where they had that person where actually treated you by reward and punishment, and you were at the beck and call based on reward and punishment? Have anyone else experienced that other than me?
Yeah, me. I experienced it. That's what made me the way I am.
Understandable.
Yep, Sharon, because I'm the same way, Sharon, because I thought, to be honest with you, for a long time, I thought that's the way it was. It was almost like I was holding my mom and dad. When I did wrong, they gave me a beating. When I did good, they gave me candy. So when I got married, I thought, I thought I would get the broomstick or the bedroom, one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that, hey, I was grown. I didn't realize I was grown until a man, that didn't work like that. I didn't realize that did. So it took me a while, by the way. But go ahead. Any other comments? Okay. All right. So if we got that part down pat, we got the external and internal, we got that part down pat. Let's talk about moving. Let's talk about the subject. Let's break down the topic for the night subject, and then we'll go further into this. All right, moving forward was the first part of this topic for the night. Moving forward. Mm-hmm. Now, anyone in the line that feel they stuck, been stuck, could be stuck, or maybe stuck, that don't know where they're headed, or not sure are they heading in the right direction? I'll be the first to talk. I'm stuck a little. And I'm going to say I'm stuck a little because the more you learn, the more you know, the better you have to do. There was a time in my life when I didn't care about stuff because I didn't know. So I took what came my way. You know, I thought in my own sight, I thought I was doing well. Hey, I was living life, having fun, doing what all I was big and bad enough to do. But now, after all these studies and after getting the relationship training, the real relationship training, now I realize something. Ooh, I got a lot of work to do. So a lot of this stuff on Sunday night at 9 is not so much for you more than it is for me. So I'm learning too. So you're not alone. If you're taking notes and you find yourself not being able to speak because you're so busy taking notes and you're wondering, wow, where all this coming from? You're no different than me. I'm right beside you. You're not alone. So moving forward for me is now get to apply some of this stuff. Get to apply some of this stuff, because before I was external. I was very much external. My locus of control was external, where I went with the ebb and flow of stuff. It was reward and punishment. And that's the way I saw it. I didn't know any better. But now I know this thing called internal locus of control. And like I said, if you can't understand the term locus of control, just say focus of control. Your internal focus, external focus. So now I focus more on inside. Now, a lot of people say it's a preference to be internal locus of control, but it's not necessarily. A lot of people strive to be that. A lot of people say that's the best way to be, but it's not necessarily. It's more about individual, what works for you and your style individual, you and your mate individual, your partnership. There's no right or wrong. Okay? All right, next. Anybody want anything to say before we move a little further? Okay, moving forward, we talked about that. Now, what's your current circumstance? Okay, right now, look at yourself right now. Everybody takes self-assessment of your current relationship right now, your current circumstance in relationship. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. I had to do it. I'm sorry. I had to do that. I couldn't help for that. But if you're not where you need to be, and you think there's something you might need to work on, now is a chance for us to actually work on it together. If you want to put something in the chat that we need to talk about, feel free to put it in the chat. I'm not going to ask you to speak it out loud, but if you want to put something in the chat that we need to discuss, let me know and we'll talk about it in the chat. Okay, what's your circumstance? If it's whether it be single. Now, some of us are happy being single. Some of us want to be single. Mm-hmm. Some of us, hey, that's where we want to be. That's our lifestyle. We want to be single. We don't want the pressure of a relationship. We want to have a friend here and go see him every now and then and come home, relax. Or some of us some of us want to be in love. Some of us want to be with a mate. Some of us want to get married. Some of us want to be engaged. Some of us want to be dating. You know, it's what you desire for your life. And if you're not there, please start working towards getting there. Please don't settle for where you are. Don't settle. No one have to settle anymore. But you do have to plan, though. I'm going to ask you to plan. If you're not where you want to be, I need you to start putting some plans in place. Mm-hmm. Okay? All right, new beginnings. New beginnings. Well, first, anybody got anything to talk about before we go out of what's your current circumstance? All right, so leaving that. Now, new beginnings. New beginnings. What is new beginnings? Okay, none. What's Sharon put? None, some just don't want to be bothered. What's that? I didn't get it, Sharon. I was trying to read it fast. It moved too quick for me.
Okay, can you hear me?
I hear you very well, yes.
The text went in late, but what I was saying when you kept saying some of us just want to be dating, some of us just want to boo, some of us want to be married or whatever, and I said some of us just don't want to be bothered. It was a joke.
And that's good.
And just left out
lifestyle.
You get to decide. You get to decide what's your life. Okay. Now, new beginnings, new beginnings, new beginnings. If you think that where you are right now is not where you want to be, and you want to look for that new beginning, now's the time. We're in January the 1st. We're brand new year. It's new beginning. This is the month. January is the month. So that new beginning, let's start searching it out. You know, as we go along, we'll talk about dating. We'll talk about dating techniques, dating methods. You know, where you're going to find someone, where's the best place, the best way, and how. We'll talk about that as we go along. So if a new beginning is what you want, then we can help you get there. A new beginning may not be, it may not be you going and get a new boo or something like that. New beginning may be clearing. Like last week, we talked about clearing. You giving yourself, you saying, hey, I made some mistakes in relationships. I want to slow down. I just want to be by myself for a while and work on me and get a new beginning on me and learn who I am. I want to take it one step at a time, and I don't want to date or be with anybody until I get myself straight. And that can be a new beginning. It's your new beginning, not my new beginning. It's your new beginning. So what it looks like to you. New beginnings don't always mean a new person.
Right.
New beginnings sometimes mean clearing yourself, forgiving yourself, forgiving your partner, or forgiving your past. Okay? Any question on new beginning before we go to release? Now I'm going through these kind of fast because I think we kind of understand these, and I want to get them out of the way so we can get into the big part. Now, Glenda, while I'm doing this, Glenda, give me one out of that second set of paper. Give me one out of that second set, and give me one from the 50 from the 50 from
50 in the Essence article?
Page three from the old one, from the new one, on page 3 of the new one. Something from the it starts on page 2.
I see.
All right, not yet, but have one, whichever one you want to talk about. I'm going through this. All right, so we got new beginning. Now let's go to release. We're going to release. Now, release is interesting. Release is interesting. And once again, let's go with clearing. You know, do you want to, are you releasing yourself or someone from a relationship or affair or from an entanglement or from something that didn't go right or a side piece or is there release anybody right now feel they need to release? Anyone feel that that's something that they need to entertain or something that maybe need to be discussed or situations? I guess my question is, how do you release someone? Somebody help me out. How would you, if you were in a long-term relationship and you had to break up or release, how would that look like? Anybody got any ideas? How would you release someone? Or if you were dating someone and you realized it wasn't going to work, it wasn't going any forward, it had got stale or whatever reason, what would a release look like?
Being open and honest, in my personal opinion.
Okay, but what does that mean?
And making sure your boundaries are known up front. Because in my personal opinion, men and women know exactly what they want or whether or not they want to move forward in a relationship sooner than later in a relationship. You may have been dating someone I would say the first 5 years, and you already made up your mind that this is really not going to go anywhere. There's no future here, I would say. And when you don't say anything to the other party, when you realize and recognize that this is not going anywhere, when you hold that information back, you give the other person false hope because they may be under the impression that there is something there. There is a potential future between you and the other person. But me personally, one of my goals for 2025 was I am planning on being more open and honest up front versus just sitting back and letting everything ride out. And then when everything gets to a head, I just like, oh, this is it. And then I give you an itemized statement of everything that brought me to this decision.
Okay. Anyone else other than Glenda? Any discussions about what release looks like? How would you release someone in your past, or someone in a relationship, or someone have an involvement with or entanglement with, or you're dating? How would that look like? How would you discuss that breakup or that release?
Sharon, do you want to share your comment in the chat?
Well, I mean, Rufus was saying, how would it look like, to you, how would it look, or what would be the procedure, or how would you think it would go down? That's how it would go down if I had to release. I'm not in a relationship,
She said, packing my stuff and leaving a note on the bathroom mirror by BYE.
Is that fair? Is that the right way to do it?
It all depends on what got her to that point.
I say anybody other than Glenda.
No, yeah, what she was totally right. It all depends on for me to go that drastic. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be something that you obviously been talked about, or it's just not gonna happen, and I don't realize it.
Then how would you break up with someone if it's no fault of their own, that they weren't at fault? You just decided to go in another direction.
No.
You didn't say it first.
No, I mean, I didn't say it.
No, this is a new example, Sharon.
You didn't. Yeah, you added that part.
Yeah, you answered the first one. Now I'm adding something different to it now.
Then if it wasn't a fault of their own, then if that means it's either it had to been something that couldn't work out because of different situations other than us having problems. Like I had to move, or you know what I'm saying? So that would be totally different, because if I stayed with that person and was with them, that means I had mad respect for them.
Okay. All right. Good deal. All right. Any additional before we get out of release and to renew?
I still can't talk.
Well, go talk. If ain't nobody else talk, go ahead and talk, Glenda. Go ahead. If nobody else is talking, you can talk. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I want to respond to your comment when you said when it's no fault of their own. My personal opinion that they are at fault. I personally believe it's not one person's fault. It was a relationship with two individuals, and everyone has to be held accountable for the decisions they make. Grown men and women know when something's not working out for them, when they're not getting what they're expecting or wanting in a relationship. And for you to stay in it as long as you have, not knowing what's going to happen at the end, that's your fault. Because the other person is only going to get away with what you allow them to. So if you haven't, if you're in love with somebody, or you just like being with this person, and you're thinking that they feel the same, it doesn't take them 5, 10, 15 years to make a full-time commitment to you. You need to make an executive decision for yourself and say, well, since this is not going the way I thought it was, I'm going to bow out gracefully, because apparently I'm not what you want. And I don't want to be in a partnership for 30 years. Okay. If I have a desire to be married, I want that. And I'm not going to stick with somebody just being your friend, your partner, or what do you call them, situationships? No, that's not fair. So it is partly their fault, because they allowed it to happen to themselves. And if they don't have the label of handicapped, retarded, or any of those other titles, they knew what they were doing. Trust me, I was in a 15-year relationship, and I knew I wasn't going anywhere in the first 5 years, but I stayed in it because I had some other benefits. But when I got out, I had more peace in my life. That's all I had to say, Mr. Carpenter.
Okay.
Well, I've been quiet.
Go ahead, Bo. Kingdom. Go ahead, sir.
I've been quiet and just listening. Mm-hmm. It goes back to what I've always said. First of all, you got to stop things before it starts. Meaning, you know what you want. We're grown.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the age, we know what we want.
Mm-hmm.
They know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody is doing something that's not in your realm or your circle,
Mm-hmm.
you need to have what I've always told you all, communication.
Mm-hmm.
A person knowingly or not knowingly don't know what they're doing. Sometimes a person can be naive thinking they're doing right when they actually are doing wrong by you from your expectations. So they don't know if they're doing right or wrong to get on that nerve of yours. So the communication come in where you got to, when it starts, you got to communicate and let them know. Now, if you decide after the communication to allow it to continue, then you can't say it's their fault for what they're doing. It's your fault for allowing it to continue. Now, if you stay in a relationship for all those years, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
A person, when they get sick and tired of being sick and tired, they're going to let it go. And as Malcolm said, by all means necessary, whether it's a good way out or a bad way out.
Exactly.
But then that's a reaction to you not stopping it from the beginning. I can only speak on me and my situations and my life experience when I speak.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed in an 18-and-a-half-year marriage, taken because I didn't believe in divorces and didn't want to move on and start over. But she left me and damn near killed me inside and out. I moved on from that. I got over it, still dealt with it, still hurt to that day. You understand that I learned to love me. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So, in all naturality, you start everything before it gets started. When you teaching and raising kids, if them kids doing something, you nip it in the butt right then. You don't let the kids continuously do it because now it's going to get out of hand. And like I said, the last time I spoke on a previous show, you keep dropping a drop in a cup, it's going to eventually run over. And when that cup runneth over, your reaction to those actions ain't going to be something you can just take back because you're so fed up, you're going to retaliate in ways that you never thought you would because now you're out of character because you're doing stuff out of anger.
Mm-hmm.
You're not thinking about what you're doing. So now you got to stop. Take your time. Communicate with that person so that person understands. Because like I told y'all before, when I raise my kids, I ain't telling you but twice.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I'm going to say something to you. You ignore it and don't do it. The second time I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make sure you know. There ain't going to be no third time.
Mm-hmm.
A relationship should be the same way. We're going to have ups and downs. We're going to have disagreements. But communication will work through all that. But if you ain't got no communication, you just putting up with it, just letting it go and letting it go until your cup runneth over, that's not fair to you, nor is it fair to your partner. Because like I said, your partner might not know they're doing something wrong.
Correct.
Because the way they was raised, it might be natural for them to do it. You can't blame them.
All right, go ahead. I think and was that you, Anna? It sounded like Anna's voice.
I want to say something. Good evening.
Go
So
ahead.
I listened to what you're saying, and I listened to what Miss Coach Glenda said, and Mr. Kingdom. So that sounds cool if you're in a relationship and you've been with someone on a length of time, and you it's your problem if you have allowed things to happen and continue for a long period of time. So I get all of that. But let's just say you just meet somebody and you just beginning to get started and trying to decide even if you want to have a relationship. Because you might not really want that. You might just say, oh, after a little bit, this person is not for me. It's not who I want to be with. So you want to get out of that. You don't want to take it any further. You want it to end right there. So I think on those situations, you just have to tell a person, you know, this is just not for me. I'm choosing something different. I want to get out of this, and you go your way and I go my way. See, everything we're talking about is how you end a long-term relationship, or how you have let things piled up for a long time. That's cool. I get all of that. But we also need to talk about when you just beginning to meet someone and you just in a relationship, getting started.
Correct.
Well,
and
let
we
me.
got guys. I'm gonna have to pull a plug in here now, and it's a bad time to pull a plug. But right now we have less than 4 minutes before 10
Let me
o'clock.
just make one statement, Rufus.
Make it quick, because what we're
I'm
gonna
gonna
do,
make it
we
quick.
go into next. We
Back
go
to
into
her
go ahead.
response to her.
Go ahead. Make it
What
quick.
I was saying earlier is for the beginners in a relationship and the ones that's in a long term, because you know what you want going into it. You know what you're looking for. And at the beginning, it's still stop it before it starts by having that communication to explain to them what you're looking for and what you bring in and what you expect at the table. That's all. It's still a communication deal.
Okay, guys. At this time, we're gonna start reeling this in. Now we're gonna do a part 2 of this, because we still got a lot of more meat on the bone here. Because right now, we've just gotten the first part of this, and the first part is you guys are really, you're getting there now, where the part we're about ready to get into, because we haven't even gotten into the renewal. We haven't gotten to compelling future. We haven't gotten into Essence. Essence did a study on this. They talked to 50 Black couples and about the same thing we're talking about right now. And then there's a book written about what we're talking about. And then there's a third article about what we're talking about. So there's a lot we still have to unpack on what we're talking about here. And once again, it's LOC, it's locus of control. And just put the word focus instead of locus will make it easier for you. And we will come back next week and we will finish this up, because there's a lot more we have to talk about. And the spark's going to fly when we get into the second half, because the second half is going to hit home for a lot of us. And we don't want to miss that. We want to bring that out, because we've talked about communication in relationships. We haven't talked about personal development and leadership. And personal development and leadership is a key thing for 2025, because no longer do we have to take what's given to us. Now we have choices to make and options. And we want to exercise those options to do something in 2025, to have a love and a life worth living. And that's what we want everybody to focus on for next week. So at this time, Glenda, you want to take us home?
Not a problem. I just had a few reminders. Don't forget the conference that's coming up in June 2025. That's June 14th, 2025. And our family cruise to the family cruise. Give me 1 second. I lost my little note sheet.
Family cruise going out in October, going to the Caribbeans. We're going to have a good time, man.
Right, from October the 12th to the 18th.
Yes.
2025. If you haven't already joined our community Facebook page, I'm encouraging you to do so, as well as remember our open discussion is on YouTube at least by Wednesday of the following of the upcoming week. So if you want to look at a replay and get more questions and prepare for the next part 2 of this discussion, feel free to do so. But it was nice seeing everybody. I thank you all for making the sacrifice to join us tonight. It's been great. It's been wonderful. Mr. Carpenter, you take care, and we will see you next week.
Looking forward to seeing everybody next week. We're going to finish this second part. I can't wait. Good night, everybody. It's been fun.